Welcome to Typecasting, where we're typing our favorite fictional characters on the Enneagram and taking on pop culture by the numbers.
This seems like a case for Special Agent Burt Macklin.
I should have learned the snake eyes thing that she does. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is your host, Lucas Graydon. And I think we're just about as much soulmates as April and Andy, but I think we're not extremes. We're very much like both of them in between.
I'm very excited to talk about April and Andy. I was watching some stuff on YouTube today, and one of the comments said, so this is like a tertiary source. Don't quote me. Don't come at me in the comments. That Chris Pratt once said that Andy and April were like a cat and a dog who fell in love. And I think that's like a very accurate depiction of their relationship. But I feel like you and I are both dogs.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to tell you this, bestie. I think you have the cat in you.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to have to put that existential crisis on the back burner and introduce our co-host, Rujana Tumatua. You are a beautiful tropical fish who's smart as a whip and cool under pressure.
I sure am. Thank you very much. Oh, that was good. That was good. I love Parks and Recreation. I forgot my Parks and Rec mug. I have one though.
Oh my gosh. I love that. This really brought back like a lot of nostalgia for the show for me. I forgot how much I loved it. I think because it is like wackier than The Office, which I think is like a pretty direct comparison, obviously. And Parks and Rec is a little more out there. It actually reminded me a lot, and I could really tell that it was made by the same people as The Good Place as I was like rewatching it.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, it's definitely the same humor.
Did you know that Jason Mendoza dies in a Swanson brand safe?
No, I did not.
Fun fact. It's all connected.
That's sad. It's all connected. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. So who are we talking about? I feel like this is like, there's just not enough, but we did introduce it last week. We're talking about Parks and Rec. And we both are huge Indiana fans because we grew up in Indiana. Huge Indiana fans is maybe not the right thing because we both fled ASAP. But I know we already talked about this last week, so I think I'm kind of just ready to just like dive right in. What do you think?
Let's do it. I love it. I love it. So who is number one? Who's up first?
So number one is Andy Dwyer. Now, we have different feelings about Chris Pratt than we do about Andy Dwyer. But I love Andy Dwyer. I do feel like I have a little bit of Andy in me sometimes. Like just the like off the walls, a little spastic, a little like crazy, a little fun. But I am a little more driven than our dear friend Andy, and I will say a little smarter.
I would agree on all counts. I do think that Andy, he's an ideas guy, you know, like he's not very much a follow through guy, but he'll try anything once. And I think he has lots of ideas that he'll try to get off the ground and then just kind of leave in the dust.
Exactly. A very big picture. And which also, now that I'm like thinking of parallels again, he's much more Michael Scott than I think any of the characters we see in Parks and Rec.
Interesting. I had a different comparison. To me, Andy is like Jason Mendoza 1.0 in a lot of ways.
Okay. I can see,
like I said, I had The Good Place on the mind as I was watching Parks and Rec, so maybe I'm a little biased.
No, I think that is very similar. I think, I don't know, part of me thinks that like they're all actually like very similar. They just were in very different environments. Like if I think of Michael Scott was like put in Andy's, like had a love for music, he'd end up very similar to Andy, but instead he got in a paper company, ended up being a boss when he like absolutely shouldn't have been. And I think if you put Andy in that situation, he would be just as like confused and like hate and like wanting to be loved. So I'm so interested because this isn't what I was like going for. But Andy Dwyer, right? He's a shoe shine in the Parks and Recreation, or actually the Capitol building where all the Parks and Recreation also are. And he is dating at the very beginning Ann Perkins, and he has fallen into this pit that is in Pawnee. And Leslie decides he's like a perfect sounding board.
Sorry, now I just have like
the opportunity. It just always brought us.
Yes, and all the memories came flooding back, specifically Leslie falling down the pit. But also, I kind of forgot that was like where Andy starts the story, and it just, I love it. I love it.
I know, I honestly did too, and I was trying to think because I did all my research last week, and I don't know if one comes before the other. Like, does he happen to be the shoe shine, or does he get that gig after he like meets the crew? I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't remember. Early Parks is hard for me. But
it's
honestly,
hard to watch.
so is late Parks. So I feel like I'm in the middle when it comes to most of my character knowledge. I think.
When I was watching Parks and Recreation, when I tried to start it, I like hated Parks and Rec at the beginning because I just felt like it was trying to be The Office, and once they all got their own characters, it was fine. Anyway, Andy Dwyer, very like him. Like, I think he's the definition of himbo, definition of golden retriever, like a sweet, like precious man. And when we first meet him, I like, can't believe he and Anne dated. Like, we're gonna talk about her later, and I'm like, what were they thinking?
I have
like,
lots
either
of
of them
comments on Anne's dating history, but
yeah,
it starts off confusing.
Well, Lucas, we know everything there is to know about Andy. I'm curious, though, what is the Enneagram?
What a great question. And I think I kind of showed my cards a little bit earlier, but when I compared him to Jason Mendoza, but I do think Andy is a 7. I think he is just here for anything, up for an adventure. He likes to try a lot of new things, but like we said, he sometimes struggles with the follow through, but he has that golden retriever energy, that kind of childlike joy. And when we were actually talking about a different character and the essence of a 7 looking at the world like a candy store and just like wanting to get everything that they could out of it. And even I think that gratitude just for like how cool life is. I think Andy has that, like the lightness of a type 7. I have some thoughts on his wings.
Ooh, okay.
I know we don't always come in with the wing 2, but I do think that he has a wing 6. I think he and April develop some really beautiful connections, and there's some specific scenes that I'm thinking of that we can get into that I think where his wing 6 really shines. I could also, though, I will say, be convinced of the 6 wing 7 for some of those same reasons. But I want to hear what you have to say.
I'm not to the 6 wing 7 at all. Well, it's funny because when I was watching content and was thinking about, or when I was watching content, I was like, what a 7, like always like just even like his world of imagination he can create for himself as an escape. Like he is such a 7 coping mechanism, in my opinion. But then when I was talking about him, it was interesting that the 2 did come up. Like, I was just like, I do feel like he loves his people very, very much, and he'll do anything for them. But he's not a traditional 2, kind of like I said with Michael Scott. Like, I didn't think about that until I was comparing him to Michael Scott. And I think in like both the ways, where it's like, if you don't know how to best love your people, you might end up like Andy Dwyer. But I just think the 7 is like, he's such a textbook 7. Like, I just like, well, and I can just see him like, when he loses his motorcycle, so he just like gives up. That's like running away from your problem.
Yes. No, I wrote down, this is in when he is talking to Ron and he finds out one of Ron's secrets. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to return the favor. Here's a list of all of my secrets. And in that list, he is talking through all of this.
I once forgot to brush my teeth for 5 weeks. I didn't actually sell my last car. I just forgot where I parked it. I don't know who Al Gore is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. When they say 2% milk, I don't know what the other 98% is. When I was a baby, my head was so big scientists did experiments on me. I once threw beer at a swan, and then it attacked my niece, Rebecca.
That'll do, Andrew.
Yeah, and then he gets in a motorcycle accident. He does it like twice. He loses vehicles out of nowhere.
Yes.
And it's just so funny. And like, I think like all peace and love to all of my sevens out there, but I think like that's like the textbook 7 behaviors. Like when at first you don't succeed, like run away. That's their fundamental like coping mechanism. I won't say that like, obviously different parts of health, they are way better at that, but that just seems like so Andy Dwyer and like the big picture. And the interesting thing about, I'm not sure how I feel about the 6 or the 8. I mean, that's one of the reasons I was like, okay, maybe 2 might be easier, but with the wings, but I see how he's loyal to his people. And like he wants to have a relationship with Anne well after it's appropriate, in like friendship, because he just like, he's like there, and I think he's like a loyalist. And I do see a little bit of that anxiety where he's nervous people are going to find him out. I feel like it's kind of his, he kind of has like a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Right.
That is but I think I can see the 6. It's almost though more so I can't see the 8.
Don't see the 8. Right. Right. I'm going to save my specific example that kind of showed me the 6 when we get to April, because I actually think it's a better point to April. But if you'll like take my word for it and like wait 5 minutes, then I'll use that example then too.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But that does make me consider what you think about April, because I don't know if we're on the same page.
Okay, well, let me introduce April Ludgate. She is, this is what I wrote down in my notes, pure chaos. Like, she just wants to sow as much chaos in the world as she can. Like, she loves stirring the pot. And also, like, similar to Andy, not a super strong work ethic. I think she does not want to be at the Parks and Rec office. She does not want this internship. And she's very reluctant to build these relationships. And obviously, as the series goes on, she does, like, let those walls down a little bit. But she really, like, I think she likes to keep herself closed off from other people. She also, like, likes to remind people how much she hates them. Like, when I love when she's sick and she's, like, torturing Anne because Anne is her nurse, and she's, like, throwing her blankets on the ground and being, like, ringing the button incessantly. My blankets are on the ground and everything. She is just, like, not the friendliest person, but I'm not sure how much that has to do with her like character type. It just, her personality is so unique and so funny. Also, Aubrey Plaza, love her. This was like, I think she has been one of the biggest stars to come from Parks. And maybe that's like somebody who didn't start Parks
like
relatively well known.
Yeah,
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say Aziz Ansari.
Yes, that's true.
Is a rival for sure. But yeah, I mean, honestly, most of them, I mean, Amy Poehler is the only one who really went in known. And when we I think like, what is Anne's real name?
Oh, Rashida Jones.
Rashida Jones was like known from The Office. So, but I was going to say the only reason I know March 31st exists, I had never learned the like with your hands thing, is because of that episode where she's so lazy. She tells everyone that his nearest appointment is March 31st because she thinks it doesn't exist. And then everyone's in the office on March 31st. I cackle every single time. And that's why I know there's a March 31st. And that is like, I laugh like every time it's March 31st because I'm like, oh my gosh.
Another of my favorites that I came across as I was like watching episodes for this was when she meets Tinnifer, and like
she just pretends.
So she's like, your name's Tinnifer? And she's like, yeah, with 2 Y's. It used to be Jennifer, but then I'm rebranding myself. And she's like, so where do you go to Pilates? And then she like, do you go, or the 2 cycling instructors, like Greg or Marona or whatever their names are. And she's like, oh, who are they? And she like knows how to get under this girl's skin right away. It's so funny. But then she's like, she's the most horrible person I've ever met. I want to travel the world with her.
I know. I love, like, she is comedy gold. Like, I just don't think I have an Aubrey Plaza. I have an April Ludgate in my life.
Really?
And yes, and this show made me like see her in a different way and like laugh instead of like freak out. Right. And it's so funny. And she's so like, I am so curious what you think her type is. Because I'm like, 6 does not touch either of my mine by a long shot.
No, I don't think she has a 6 in her. I'm saying I have an April scene that points to
That
Andy's
shows
wing 6.
Andy having a 6. I thought you were saying they both have a wing 6, and I was like,
okay.
What could he possibly be talking about? Tell you, ladies and gentlemen, April Ludgate is not a wing. It does not have a 6 in her bone, in her body, I don't think. I am split between 2. Okay. I think she might have an 8.
Okay.
And she has that challenger aspect to her, that like inner fire, and she fights for what she thinks is right. It is a really weird version of the world, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think she has a wing 8. And I actually would not be surprised if she also has a wing 7. Like, she is petrified to get close to things. And so she flees from them. And I think, like, she's scared of being good at her job. And, like, when Leslie sees the good in her, she chooses not to believe her. And Leslie sees the good in everyone, so whatever. But then when Ben sees her out and sees her potential, her first instinct is to run, or to, like, she's in front of people who are really important, and she'll talk about how she needs to be subservient to men.
Yes.
I just think we need to obey them, Leslie. I love her. You'll never catch a husband with that tone, Leslie. I love that scene. Anyway, and so I kind of see a little bit of 8 in her. I also see, because she is like the emo queen with like the boyfriend who has a boyfriend. I don't know. Like, I can't, like, and the deadpan and the like the black and the hair at the first couple of scenes. Like, I would be remiss if I didn't call her a 4. However, I don't think she's very attached to her emotions, like, at all.
Okay.
And that's like the hallmark of a 4. So I'm a little confused by it. So I'm gonna go with an 8, because I do think her like ultimate emotion kind of is that gut, that like anger, but the comedy within that. And so I'm gonna say I believe that April Ludgate is an 8, wing 7. What do you think?
Okay, I think she's a 4. You mentioned it there at the end, but this girl like has to be unique. Like, she does not want to be like anybody else in the world. She puts on scary like zombie Halloween makeup after going into labor on Halloween, because they're like like, she has to be the weirdest person in the room. She likes, I think, making other people uncomfortable by how weird she is. And something else that made me think of the 4, and this is when you're kind of talking about like what's the core of these actions, these emotions. I think she is terrified of being ordinary. She's terrified of being boring. So this is the scene we've all been waiting for. I keep teasing it. When Ben moves in with Andy and April,
I forgot
he is like, you guys are eating out of a Frisbee with 1 fork. I'm going to give you a list of things. I'm going to give you next month's rent up front. Go to Bath & Body Works and buy this list. And they are going to check out.
Mighty Putty.
What are we doing? We didn't get a single thing that Ben told us to.
Sure we did. We got the marshmallow shooter.
I don't think that's on the list.
But I want it.
I want it too. But I also kind of want my own fork. Just because you eat really slow, which is cute, but also super annoying.
Fine.
What? What's wrong?
Nothing. It's just adults are boring. And I hate them. And I don't want to buy all this stupid, boring adult stuff and become boring adults.
Hey, listen to me. Yes, we're gonna get a dish rack and shower curtains and a cutting board. But if you think for 1 second I'm not also gonna get that marshmallow shooter so that I can shoot you in the face with marshmallows when you're asleep, then you're the dumbest woman I know.
You're gonna make me cry.
So in that scene, like, I really saw like the really beautiful supportive side of Andy that like sees her fears and is like, hey, I'm going to help you like address that fear too. But I also saw the core fear in April of like becoming ordinary and becoming boring. And I was like, that is the 4's greatest fear. So that was the scene that pointed me towards April as the type 4 for me.
What do you think about my I think that's beautiful. What do you think about my comment that she seems very detached from her emotions? Because like because it's not even like she's moody and like, and she's just like, doesn't touch them.
I mean, she's deadpan, but I also think moody may be a good word for it, you know? Like, when we don't see her in a lot of the, like, highs, but we do. She just maybe doesn't express them the same way, like if she is in love with, like, when she meets Tinnifer, she's like, she's the greatest person I've ever met. I want to travel the world with her. And even though she, like, says it like that, like, she has those, like, I think she still has feelings, even if she doesn't express them, like, through big outward expression. I think maybe her emotions are expressed more through maybe arts and crafts. I don't know what she does on her weekends, you know.
That's what I'm saying. She doesn't do anything. I'm like, it's like my gut, like everything about, I'm like, this is a 4 if I've ever seen one, but I had a hard time like defining reasons why. And that's why I'm like, oh, like it just felt like she was, and I felt like I think you have a better case for it. It's like the fact that she doesn't want to be ordinary, but I still have a hard time. But I will give you the 4. What do you think but only if you can tell me what her wing is, because okay. I felt good about the 8-wing 7.
I will say, I see the 8-wing 7 more than I see a wing on either side of the 4.
Yeah.
Because even in that scene with Andy at Bath and Body Works, she's not only afraid of being ordinary, she's afraid of growing up. Like, she's afraid of, like, too much responsibility, being tied down. Like, I think you can see some of that, like, wing 7 in there, and her love for, like, I want this marshmallow gun and things like that.
Absolutely. I'm just going to peek at the little Enneagram Institute, our favorite. And as we always talk about, like on the Enneagram, you move through numbers depending on what situation you are, if you're interested in your health, but there's also like just levels of health. And so one of the things that like a really unhealthy 8 does is that they develop delusional ideas of their power, invincibility, ability to prevail, recklessly overextending themselves. And I feel like I can see her doing that, like just being like, I'm the queen of the world. But like she is too in the show. But I think if she was a real person, it would be delusional. And I just like, that is what stuck out to me. I'm like, I think she's an 8, and I do think she has that wing 7 of just like whatever. And I think that's like that weird connection that she has with Andy is that like, and I think your scenario more than her not being ordinary shows like her fear of growing up. And I think that's such a 7, like Peter Pan syndrome thing.
Right.
Okay. So let's put it in the books.
Okay.
8-wing 7.
8-wing 7, Miss April Ludgate. Congratulations.
I can't believe I won on that one. I thought you were going to go way harder than that. The next character we have is Ann Perkins.
Ann Perkins. That was good.
Oh, that was better. Ann Perkins. It's like Ann Perkins. Okay, Ann Perkins.
Delightful.
She is delightful. All the good adjectives with a very sugary smile on them. Anne is Leslie's BFF. They met because Anne is a citizen of Bonnie who felt like she needed to like voice her opinion. And Anne is a nurse. And Leslie's always trying to like, get her as much into the Parks and Rec gang as possible. She's like, be the health administrator for the city. Like, come date my BFF. Like, actually, I forgot about that. I forgot that there was the first time Anne dated the man that Leslie loved. Remember?
Mark Brandanowitz. Yes.
Mark Brandanowitz.
Also,
I forgot about that.
I just have to say real quick.
That's such an Indiana last name. Mm-hmm.
You know what I forgot? Is that she dated Tom. What, when, why, how?
My face right now is open. I forgot about that too. I did love it when it happened. I did think it was hilarious. But now that I'm like,
yeah, I'm not here for it.
No, but it was funny.
Yes,
it was good content. But it was very much like, I'm raising your son for you, Tom's mom. Oh, good stuff. I love her. She's just like classic BFF. And she reminds me of some of my good friends, honestly. And I'm really excited to hear. She also marries Chris Trigger. She has his child first because she just wants to be a mother more than anything. And like one of the things I love I think she has one of the most expansive arcs in the show, where we see her like not really have a sense of self. Like one of the things that happens that like they like joke about is that she takes on the personality of the man she's dating. And I think that's like kind of how she ends up dating Tom, right? Is like she just kind of goes with the wind on that. And I do love that about her, that she's such a good supportive friend, but sometimes she forgets who she is. So, Lucas, what does that make her?
Okay. I will say, before I type it real quick, speaking of like character comparisons, I think that I had maybe a harder time getting a hold on Anne at first because I think she's the Jim of Parks and Rec. Like Jim in The Office is the one character who like what they call like the straight man, who is not as wacky and zany as everyone else around him. And he's the one who kind of like, he's the one who looks at the camera and is like, can you believe this is happening? I think Anne is the most like normal of any of the characters as the show goes on. Everyone else is kind of out there. And I think Anne is kind of the normal person, quote unquote, who reacts to it all. And so I had a harder time at first because I don't think she gets as many like memorable moments. She's just kind of a supporting character throughout the whole thing. Like you said, she has this really cool arc, but she is Leslie's best friend. And we like so much of the Ann Perkins quotes are either from Leslie about Anne or from Chris about Anne, you know, like Leslie has these infamous compliments and Chris has his way of saying Ann Perkins and everything. So I do think I kind of heard a number just in the way you were talking that I didn't consider that is kind of like coming in and throwing me for a loop. But what I had written down was the type 2. I think she is a people pleaser in a lot of ways. She's also obviously like a helper. She has that maternal instinct, both literally and in her like interpersonal relationships. And she also like, I was thinking about the fact that she's a nurse. Like she wanted to do something where she could help people. And we see her just be such a good friend and in a lot of the compilations I was watching, she kind of blows up a lot. Like she reaches these breaking points where she like has to just stop and yell about whatever it is. And I think that's because we see her in this cycle of kind of suppressing her own emotions and wants until she like absolutely can't anymore. And then we kind of see her blow. So I saw both, I think, some of the good and some of the struggles of the type 2 in what you were talking about. I also kind of heard the 9 sneaking in there in the back of my brain. Yeah. So I'm between the 2 and I think the 9 now, but that was a last minute addition for me. Where were you?
That is so interesting. I don't really quite see the 2. I do see a little bit more of the 9. I think there's a difference between like people pleasing and like adopting characteristics of someone. For sure. And I think that's and I think
definitely different.
And I think like I don't really necessarily see her people pleasing, and the fact that, but I also feel like she's kind of just dating. Like, the fact that she dated Tom, Andy, and Chris. Like I don't know if the writers did her dirty or if she's just kind of like sticking to whatever comes her way. I went into this thinking she was a 9. Like I'm like, she is an obvious with a 1 wing. And like, she has that inexplicable quality that ones do that just like shines bright for me. And the fact that I'm just like, she has this set of rules. Like this is the way things need to be. And she doesn't get it when things like don't go her way. I feel like a little bit, but I'm like considering the 2. I just don't see a lot of, besides the fact that she's a nurse, I don't really see a lot of evidence of her like going out of her way for other people. As much as I do for like staying out of the way.
Getting out of the way. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. I don't know how the 9 didn't really come up because I do think that the 9 and the 2 are similar in a lot of ways, but like as soon as I thought about the 9, which like I said, I don't know why it was not on my brain, I was like, oh, and it all kind of reframed and it all, I think, made more sense. Okay. I definitely saw the wing 1 as well. Like there's a couple of scenes that I saw where she was like, I don't normally like telling people what to do, and then it's like, she does have those moments where she'll step in and she's like, okay, there is the right way to do things. And like I said, being that like person who is reacting to the zaniness of everything around her, she's like, this is not the way things are supposed to be functioning. Like this is not how normal humans function. So I think the Nine Wing one does make more sense to me.
I think, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. So I don't know how, like, I didn't see it until you were introducing her and I was like, oh wait, yeah. Because I also think it's hard to be a person who is compatible with Andy and Tom and Mark and Chris, like in the way that she does have all of those different relationships. Like, you're right. Like, she is making herself fit, I think, more
exactly,
like, especially with Andy. That's kind of what I was thinking about when we first started talking about like them dating at the beginning. Like, I think she has to have the patience of the 9 to be able to like forget a little bit, because she's such an amazing person. And Andy is not a good boyfriend to her. I
know. I do. Like, I love them both separately so much.
Yes.
But it doesn't make sense together.
They find their people. And I think they are made so much better for it after they break up.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's like, and I think she even says out loud, like, what did I see in you? Like, where was that? And like, that's also why April was so mean to Anne. It was because
yes.
Anyway. Okay, we have one more character. We had to do like pretty much the whole cast of the show.
It's so funny that you said earlier that you had an April Ludgate in your life, because I 100% have a Donna Meagle in my life.
I think I'm thinking of who it is.
And Donna is one of the characters, maybe the best example of a character in Parks and Rec who is completely different after season 1. Like, I love, if you ever go back to the pilot and look at Donna, they had no idea.
Donna and Tom, both of them are just like,
she's in like a blazer and her hair is up in this like updo, and she is, it's her like evil twin sister who like abducted her for a year of season 1, and then like Donna has this whole backstory where she like saves herself and then comes back and takes her place between season 1 and season 2, because it's a different character. But I love Donna from like season 2 on.
Me too. Same. Like, she's such an iconic character, and I love her and Tom's relationship. Okay,
it feels weird. Yes, I was going to say, it feels weird not talking about Tom and Donna in the same episode, because I'm like, oh yeah, last week we were talking about like treat yourself and everything, and she is the other half of that dynamic duo. She loves the finer things in life. She
loves the finer things.
She's very independent. She really knows how to like stand in her own power. I love how they're all out at brunch. They're talking about their love lives. And Donna's like, I have multiple men in rotation. There's one waiting in the car right now. Like, don't worry, I left the windows down. And then she like...
That is a good line.
She kind of like coaches Anne through a dating event at one point, and she is like, listen, if you're not going to take him, I will. I think she's so confident. She like exudes this confidence in her. And another of my favorite Donna moments is when they're all out like hunting, and Ron accidentally gets shot, and they're all like tending after Ron, and they hear Donna out in the woods crying because the bullet like shattered the window of her Benz, and she is just like sobbing and crying over her car because it is her most prized possession. I forgot about her like
love with her Benz. I totally forgot about that.
Yes. She literally says like, I'm gonna throw him in my Benz and take him home for the night. Like, it is her baby. So that's just some of the iconic things about Donna Meagle. I am very fascinated to hear what you think her type is.
Okay. I was thinking like long and hard about this. The thing about Donna is she's such a background character. Like, she has so many like one-liners, doesn't have a ton of character development. I feel confused about this. But where Tom is a 4-wing 3, I think she's a 3-wing 4. I see like that determination, that confidence that she just like exudes. I think that's such a 3 thing. We don't see her like doing the chameleon thing, but I think that's like one side of the 3. But like a lot of 3s that we know like don't seem very like snaky or slimy at all. They just are like, yeah, I know who I am. Like they've already done the accomplishments. They already have done the achievements. And like, yeah, I'm an achiever. That's who I am. And I think the drama, we'll just go with that. Drama of who she is very strongly just like rooted in the 4. Like she's just like, she loves luxury. She loves being who she is. And I love that about her. And I think that's like the 3-wing 4. And I think it complements Tommy's 4-wing 3.
Interesting.
Uh-oh. I love an interesting.
I think 3 is the second number that I had written down. But I think that Donna is an 8. And I feel very similarly to Tanya. I was like, I am getting lots of Tanya from Mamma Mia vibes. Like because also like Donna, I don't see a ton of the like work ethic and like drive in her.
Just like we see
she just kind of has has everything that she wants, and she like knows. I think similar to April's a main character, so we see her delusions of like ruling the world a little bit more, but I think Donna is no less confident that she rules the world as well, you know. And I think she just kind of like walks around in her power at all times in the way that a challenger will. And I think that we do see her in a healthier place than April. Like I think April's a little less well adjusted as a person. But for me, I felt really torn in that same gap that we were with Tanya a couple weeks ago. And I again think that she leans more to the 8 than she does to the 3.
Okay.
And I think wing 7.
I think you're right.
Again, I think she and April are actually both 8 wing 7s. I'll put that out there too.
I don't really see the wing 7.
I think, and again, I think you and I sometimes disagree about the nature of the 7, but I think instead of like adventure, she wants nice things, but she still like wants to like try all the nicest and newest things instead of like going camping, but she still like, she
flees through purchases rather than.
Right. And she kind of like finds maybe it is comfort. I know sometimes we've talked about the 7 and the 9. And so maybe she finds comfort and has that wing 9. And like I said, she doesn't really have that work ethic or that drive. So maybe she like has that more content nature about her in the 9.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm thinking of the time she's brought up like there's conflict and she's just like not in the room.
That's
like
true.
I think she's like she runs
like,
away,
I don't have a dog
let the
in this
white
fight.
people fight.
Yes,
she's very much like, and she just kind of like leaves. And I think that's like a little more peacemakery than the 7.
Okay.
Like I see how though she goes to California or she goes to the West Coast. I don't remember where. And like in the end, and she just like try a lot of new things. So I don't not see the 7. I just assumed when you said 8, I was like, oh yeah, I can see that wing 9. And I think it's like the more understated. She might be someone who just accesses both of her wings regularly. Like right. I can kind of see, I can see a lot of her actions being described away as 9 or 7.
And I think that there are a lot of similarities, obviously, between the 7 and the 9, at least in that like avoidance of pain. Or like, but like we talked about, there's a difference between like avoidance of pain, pursuit of comfort, and things like that. So I think that she probably does seesaw a little bit, but I am good. If you are good on the 8 wing 9.
I am good on the 8 wing 9. I love when you let me pick it. Oh my gosh. Oh, we're done with Parks and Rec. I just love the excuse to talk about it again, honestly.
Seriously, all of these switching from show to show every few weeks has put so many rewatches like in my queue. Like there's every single week I'm like, okay, now I have to go rewatch the whole thing. I don't know when I'm ever going to have the time to, but it's not good for my viewing habits because I literally almost triggered a full Parks and Rec rewatch, just like researching these characters.
Well, and I think our next title it's been one of the trickiest things to find for me to rewatch, but I'm so excited because I've been reading, side note, tangent, I've been reading a lot of Greek mythology lately, and the amount of like Greek mythology inspired by our next title is insane, or vice versa.
Really? I don't think I know about that connection. I love that.
I'll tell you about it.
Well, we are next week. So excited. Let's see if I can do it.
Yours is better than mine.
Oh.
I want to do the symbol.
I was going to say, you can't see it.
Are you coming to the tree?
Oh my God. Hunger Games, by the way. We are doing the Hunger Games. I know we didn't say it.
Yes.
Rewatch all 4 movies if you want. Nobody's going to stop you. I might be right there with you. At least when we do movie series, I don't have 7 seasons to catch up on. It's only a few movies and books if you're more of a bookworm. But I'm super excited to be talking about Katniss, Peeta, and Gale.
Honestly,
the
me
love
too.
triangle.
The love triangle of the century. Do you think we could read the book by next week? I feel like it'd be easier to get the book than it would be to watch the movie, honestly.
It might be. We're going to find out in a week, which was easier.
See you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Typecasting. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at TypecastingPod, where you can vote in our weekly polls. Leave a review and be sure to join us next week when we take on more pop culture by the numbers.